Hello and welcome to our membership class. If you are watching this, you must be interested in becoming a member of the Buchanan Church of God, and we're so glad for that. I'm so happy that you have chosen to take really that next step with us as a church, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to share, to be with you as you go through this process. I have decided to do these classes online. That way it gives really people an opportunity to go through them at your own pace. There will be several classes that we will go through here, and while they're not necessarily long segments, it'll break it up a little bit for you, and you can kind of make your way through each one of these segments, getting a little bit more information about the church, who we are, as a not only as a local church, but also as a region, as our denomination. All those kind of things we're going to take a look at and share with you throughout this membership class. If you have not, please pick up your membership packet. That is available in the office, and so all you need to do is pick this up, take it home. This is available then on our YouTube channel. We'll have that available to you. You can just kind of get into that and be able to watch these classes and go through this at your own pace. So we're so thankful and grateful you're with us. Let's open up in prayer. I thank you, Heavenly Father, for an opportunity to share today with those that are watching this, that are interested in membership in the Buchanan Church. And we thank you for the opportunity that we have just to commit, not only to you, but Lord, also to the church. And you call us to do that. You encourage us to do that. And I thank you for those that are watching this that are taking that next step with us. And we're so grateful for them. We're so grateful for their lives, for their families, for the things, Lord, that they are already bringing to the church. And now they just want to take that next step in becoming a member. We pray your blessing upon each one. We pray that you would use this time as an informational time, as a time of growth and insight into the church, into the region, into the denomination. Help us truly to be your people, to live for you in all that we do. And we ask these things in your name. Amen. So if you open your packet, our first sheet will say Buchanan Church of God membership class. It'll look like this. There should be two sheets we're going to look at. This is just a little overview that I like to do first, so that you have a little bit of an idea what the church is, and what the region and what the denomination, what we have to offer, what there's things. I always, one of the things that often happens is I go through this and people will say, oh, I didn't realize that. I've been a part of the church maybe for a number of years, and maybe some of you have. You've been attending for a number of years and don't always realize the outreach and the things that are available as a part of this church and how we're connected, and really the bigger picture. Now, this membership class, I always like to look at it almost as a welcome class also, and it's good if you are new to the church and watching this. Maybe you're not necessarily interested in membership yet, but you're just watching it to get an idea of who we are. This is a great way to do it. It gives you really an overview of what's happening, what we believe, what our values are, all those kind of things. So if we take a look at that sheet, our founder, John Weinbrenner, he is the founder of the Churches of God General Conference, and that's our full name, Churches of God General Conference. Our headquarters out of Findlay, Ohio. We'll talk about that in a moment. But John Weinbrenner was born March 25th, 1797. He died September 12th of 1860. He, just to give a little background, we're going to look at him a little bit later, but a little bit of background on John Weinbrenner is he left the German Reformed Church and was dissatisfied in some of the things that were going on there, and established the Churches of God. The first church was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in 1827. And as we'll take a look here in just a moment, those are where the majority or the bulk of our churches are in the eastern part of the region, from Harrisburg, as they move, forward, or, west, I guess I should say. They moved west, into western Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has the biggest cluster of churches, and then as it makes its way across the Midwest, and there's churches as we'll get into here in different parts of the country. We are a part of the Allegheny region, and maybe I often refer to it as the ARC, so the Allegheny Region Conference, and so if you ever hear that, you kind of know then what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to. And the Allegheny region has churches both in Pennsylvania and West Virginia. West Virginia a number of years ago came along with it. They were their own conference. They realigned the conferences and combined some things, and so the West Virginia Conference is now along with us. There are 41 churches in the Allegheny region between Western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. California is a conference into themselves because they are so separated from, they are really, a conference in themselves. They have 7 churches. Most of the churches are, 5 out of the 7, I believe, are Spanish-speaking churches. So there's, some diversity, some cultural diversity, certainly in the churches of God. Also, the Eastern region, that is Eastern Pennsylvania and Maryland. That has 146 churches. So you can see the bulk of the churches are really in that eastern part of the state. The Great Lakes region is comprised of Ohio and Michigan. They have 39 churches. The Midwest region is Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana. They have 47 churches. The Mid-South is just Missouri, and that's 1 church there. And then the Western region is Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas, and they have 23 churches. So, there's our, kind of, I want to say domestic churches in that sense in the United States. Then our global reach, and I think sometimes, the classes I've done, they often don't realize what our global reach is as a part of the churches of God. And let me go down through Bangladesh. We have 181 churches in Bangladesh that are part of the churches of God. Brazil, there are 3 churches in Brazil. The Dominican Republic, there's 2 churches. Haiti, which has seen unbelievable growth in Haiti, and when I say this, I mean the size of the churches are growing. People are really coming to know Christ in Haiti. There's 41 churches there. India has 38 churches. Kenya has 14 churches. Mexico, we have 3 churches in Mexico. Sweden has 1 church, and we support the Molgards, part of us as a local church. We support them. They are in Sweden, working with kind of community ministry outreach, house churches, those kind of things. I just count that really kind of as 1 church because they're doing a variety of things, and just to give it some definition that way, we'll call it 1 church. Venezuela, there are 8 churches in Venezuela. Then we have churches that are culturally diverse, but yet within the United States. And the Asian Pacific Church, that would be in Hawaii. We have 1 church there. What a wonderful opportunity to serve the Lord in Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii, and it's a beautiful place, and certainly would covet the call to go to Hawaii. I think everybody certainly would. No, we have a wonderful pastor and wife there, native to that, and they do a wonderful job ministering to the native people of Hawaii, Asia Pacific church there. Our Haitian church in Orlando, Florida, we have one there. Our Latino churches in California, as I mentioned before, there are 5 Latino churches that very culturally distinct that way. In the Southwest, there are 3 churches, some on the Navajo reservation, and things that are going on there. So a lot of diversity, and I think sometimes that is always first of all what strikes people is the fact that there is a lot of diversity within the churches of God. Our general conference office is in Findlay, Ohio, and that is really Findlay, Ohio is really our hub in a sense for the churches of God, because not only is our general conference office there, but also our college, the University of Findlay, that we are affiliated and associated with. Our seminary is there. Weinbrenner Theological Seminary is also there. And Weinbrenner, a number of years ago, moved. Actually, they were, I'd say about 3 miles at the most from the Findlay, University of Findlay campus. But they sold that property. They moved there on to the university campus, so they're a part of that. So that's all together. The conference offices are right there. The seminary is right there. The university. So it's really a very nice setup for them. And I think that if you ever have an opportunity to go out to Findlay, you're going out that way, stop in and take a look at the campus. I attended Findlay College. They changed the name right after I graduated, but it's a beautiful campus. Changed very much since I have been there. Beautiful campus, beautiful setup. You can see the conference offices, the seminary. It's a great experience if you really want to see kind of what's happening, what's going on in the churches of God. You get a real kind of snapshot there all together of what is going on, what's available there in Findlay, Ohio. Then our regional office, the Allegheny Region Conference Office, is located in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And of course, our director, Pastor Phil Scott, who has been to the church many times, spoke here at the church. You certainly know and remember Phil, and so he is our regional director. Our church camp, which many of you are familiar with, is in Markleysburg. Really on right on the border. It's right on the Mason-Dixon line there. There in Markleysburg. Part of our church camp is in Pennsylvania, part is in Maryland, and we sit right on the Mason-Dixon line. And it's about 70 acres is in Maryland, about 40 acres is in Pennsylvania, and so the majority is in Maryland. But we share on kind of both sides of the Mason-Dixon line, and of course Carrie Dix now is our camp director, caretaker, takes care of that for us. So. And then our nursing homes. We have nursing homes as a part of the Allegheny region, and I know people are often surprised at that. They often don't always realize. And we have 3 nursing homes. Let me start up in the northern part, Grove Manor, which is in Grove City, PA. Then the Caring Place, which is located in Franklin, Pennsylvania. Used to live there. Then Woodcrest is in Scottdale, and many of you are familiar with the Woodcrest. Beautiful facility. I encourage you to, you're out in and around, the Scottdale area, go, right out there and go past St. John's Catholic Church and out that way, and you'll find it sits up on the right hand side. You take a look at the facility, and there's single family homes and things for people that are transitioning in their life, and all those kind of things. And so it's a wonderful facility. We're thankful to have the North had a few facilities there for a number of years, and we were thankful to have a place in the southern part of the region that we can send people to, in a sense, or encourage people to look at when they need nursing. It's more of a assisted living more than a nursing home, but there's assisted living there that you can certainly be a part of for people that maybe don't need nursing care necessarily, but just need somebody around. So we're thankful certainly for that. As we take a look at the history in your packet, there's a page that looks like this, and I want to look at a couple things when we talk about John Weinbrenner, and it gives a little bit of a history of John Weinbrenner. I'm not going to, of course, go over that word for word, but John Weinbrenner he's an interesting character. You can read here a little bit about the history of the church, who he was, and talks a little bit about his family. It talks a little bit about the starting of the church. It began in 1825, and so we've been around a while. Talks a little bit about the conference and how they came to be, and then in 2001 we became the Allegheny Region Conference. Talks a little bit about that also, that we had also talked about before. So I encourage you to read that. I'm not going to go over that word for word, because I know these videos are really just to give you an overview, to kind of encourage you, to help you. I'm encouraging you to read this a little bit more intently, and have an opportunity to share certainly in some of those things, and what the Church of God is about, what the history of the Church of God is also. But I do want to go over a little bit more about the Buchanan Church, and there's a sheet in your packet that looks like this, and it'll say Buchanan Church of God, and this gives the local history. And I think for many of you, it's not that you're not concerned about the John Weinbrenner and the start of the Churches of God, but often as becoming a part of the membership here at the Buchanan Church, we are interested in what goes on locally, and what this congregation is, and how it started. And it's very interesting. We look in 1864, there was a group of people in the community here of White that really formed what they called a Sabbath School Association. And they met across the road at the what we call now the community center, but that was originally a school across the road, and they met there. And I thought, what an interesting thing to think about, and what vision they had. They met there for a number of years. As they grew, as they kind of formed as a group, they felt it was important for them to get together. And most of the time when you think about Sunday school, you often think of these are people that are studying and learning from God's Word. And so they felt that was very important, that they needed that kind of place in the community. And so what a vision that these people had to be able to start this together. They wrote down some things. There is an old yellowed paper containing their handwritten constitution. Earliest record is available, and you'll see here it tells that on 1868, May 3rd of 1868, the Buchanan Schoolhouse in Salt Lake Township, their superintendent, assistant superintendent, secretary, librarian, male teachers, female teachers. It goes down through some of those names you recognize. You see the Whites and the Flacks, the Eckards, Ulrys. Those are all names that are very familiar, certainly to this area. And those families, there's families of that name still live certainly in this area. And so it really connects them. It tells a little bit about what was happening, the hymns that were sung, and then ground for the church was donated by Cyrus White. And in your packet, if you look back a little bit further, there is a picture of him. We'll get to that in just a moment. But Cyrus White was the one who donated the property here for the church. And that was in 1904. It says the church was erected around, it says 1904, donated by Cyrus White. Dedication for the service was probably held about September of 1905. So by the time they finished the building and all those kind of things, we tend to look at September of each year as our homecoming month that we recognize, that we celebrate. And of course, 1905, we mark that date, 1905, as our day. We just celebrated, a number of years ago here, our 100th anniversary, and it tells about the first men to preach, James Means, David Stevens, W.B. Elliott, F.O. Aiken. It says exact dates aren't known, but it says even the first funeral service was held in the sanctuary that of Reuben Eckerd in December of 1911. So just kind of fun stuff to, excuse me, to think about and to take a look at. On the next page, I love it. It gives kind of a rundown of some of the things that were happening in the church, what they were doing, what they were buying. It says in 1938, the old potbelly stoves were replaced with a coal furnace in the basement. I mean that was big stuff. I mean, and I think it's a part of the history of the church. This is parsonage. That work was begun in 1941, and I believe the dedication then in May 31st of 1942. So it kind of gives you some history of the parsonage, how long it's been around, since 1942. Tells how many people were there. I love this. It says there were 450 people in attendance when they dedicated the parsonage. My goodness, people would have come around from all over the place. You can think about that. 450 people were in attendance. That is an amazing thing to think about. First wedding, Lewis White, Helen Knopf-Snyder, June 26, 1942. Reverend G.M. Smith, G. Marion Smith. If some of you would know him or know of him, he's gone on to be with the Lord now. But he was here and performed the first wedding. It talks about a little bit about some of the things, the shingles on that they put on, and additional ground was purchased, and all those kind of things that kind of link our history. 50th anniversary, of course. April 29th. So it was delayed until April 29th, 1956. And tells a little bit about that. Sunday school rooms. I'm sitting here in our Sunday school wing. Of course, it's changed from when I first came here as the pastor. But if you remember, I'm sitting actually in the I'm in what would be Candy's classroom now that she uses. Actually, that would actually be the front of the old sanctuary. And if you remember, the add-on, we had some classrooms and overflow into the building. That was added on in 1962. Then, I love this, in 1973 is when the bathrooms were added. So, what was happening? There was an outhouse up until 1973. It talks about the new steeple being put in place, remodeling to the parsonage, all kinds of things. And it talks a little bit about, what Buchanan was. It was on a circuit. At a point, it was combined at various times: Mount Nebo, Hillview, Mount Tabor, even Latrobe. Isn't that amazing? Think about being on a circuit with the Latrobe circuit. It says Latrobe and Buchanan were assigned as a circuit in 1933 when F.E. Miller was pastor. Then it changed in 1934, and Buchanan, Clinton, and Breakneck, and Mount Tabor then became a circuit. Then in 2002, Senneth and Lillian Kessler were very gracious in donating ground for the church and our new worship facility and our fellowship center. And of course, that maybe some of you were around for that, maybe, or you've come to the church, since that. That was held on September 18th of 2005. Then the next page on there, it talks about assigned pastors. It goes down through, D.L. Stevens, and some of these were, pastors that were assigned. Sometimes records weren't always kept earlier on, so this kind of gives us a record of what we know of, who was here, how many pastors were here, and it kind of goes down through the lineup there. Then on the next page, it gives a picture of Cyrus White and Urbana and their child there, that's who gave the ground for us to have the church. So we certainly are thankful for them. Then also included in that, it says a poem on Parents' Wedding Day. Ada White wrote that, and we included that in. Then I love this too, the diary from Reverend F.O. Aiken. I encourage you to take a look at that, read that. There's some interesting things when he was on the circuit. Buchanan was a part of the circuit that he was a part of. So it's interesting. He has a whole diary, and I did include the part where he talked about the Buchanan Church and some of the things that were happening. So I love that. Then there's some pictures, and I love these because it really shows the church and also shows the parsonage, what it looked like before. It looks like now, obviously, and things have certainly changed. So I encourage you to take a look at some of those. I like to include those because it's important for us. And of course, then in the back kind of gives us our new picture of what the church certainly looks like. Certainly looks like that way. That is the really the overview and really kind of the history, the local history of the church. So that is part one. I'm going to stop the video, and then I will continue on with part two. I wanted to break these up a little bit so that I didn't want to kind of continue on and just it gives you a little bit of a break. You can kind of look over some things that way, and then we'll look at part two. So when you're ready for that, you can tune certainly into that. So thank you for joining me for part one. You can start part two when you're certainly ready for that. We'll look at some of the other things. We're going to look at the values of the Church of God, or statement of faith, some of the social concerns, some of those kind of things, and then we're going to be looking at 5 things that help us to grow in our faith. So that's the end of part one. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll look forward to spending some time with you here in part two.